Mr. Shawcroft, in the bill, there's a phrase that you want to use the, quote, unexpended budget authority. How much is left?
There's approximately $100 million left that could be transferred and used for these conservation efforts.
Quote, thank you, Ms. Bober. Chair recognizes himself for 5.
Thank you. I hope here today.
Shawcroft.
Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Thank you, Ms. Bober. Chair recognizes himself for 5 minutes. Mr. Shawcroft, in the bill, there's a phrase that you want to use the, quote, unexpended budget authority. How much is left?
There's approximately $100 million left that could be transferred and used for these conservation efforts.
The term conservation as defined in that bill is of interest to me because it's got a wide variety of uses. As it is reflected in this bill, what does it mean? Does it mean that tell me what it means.
In this case, conservation means taking water that was used for one purpose and being able to use it for another purpose. So if, for example, one of the items that we are pursuing is grass turf removal, so the water that would have otherwise been used on that grass would now be able to be used for other purposes, which may be growth.
Forgive me for interrupting, but it's not the paper right that you're working from. It's the actual amount that was consumed by the grass that that's the measure of conservation, is it not?
Correct. It's an actual measurement, acre foot of water that is used for a different purpose.
Correct. Thank you for that. Mr. Bescher, I'm from a cattle ranching background, so I've seen all that you described. I note in looking during some of the other testimony that the number of these birds, black vultures, back in 2018 was around 4.26 million, and that it was suggested that in some spaces you could, quote, take as many as 287,000 a year. And so I am just curious, has someone done a study to suggest if you were allowed, this bill passed and you're allowed to take these creatures without having to go through the work of acquiring a permit, how long before you wipe out the population? You got 4.2 million to take. That was 5 years ago.
Thank you, Congressman, for the question. I'm unfamiliar with the breeding pattern of these, but the steady increase that we've seen over the past years, I mean, producers are not wanting to wipe them off the face of the earth. We're just wanting to get this population in check where they're not depredating our calves.
Yeah, so I just checked, and the estimate is the population increases by between 1% and 4% a year. So my point is the odds of cattle ranchers wiping out the population is zero. And in fact, even keeping up with the increase in population at this particular point, unlikely. Is that a correct take on the situation?
Yes, sir.
So why in the world you're having to go through this work is unclear to me. I want to shift to Mr. Graham. The concept of too many black vultures on the one hand and now too many sharks on the other is pretty apparent. But is that the outcome that you're seeking when it comes to this independent group? Is it what? Sure, we already know you're suffering depredation issues. What is it that you want to see happen?
Well, I mean, and too many red snappers too. We got to talk. You know, I think there's a lot of answers. I mean, I've used, like I said, we've been trying to use devices. I think we need to research why. I think we need to know why this is happening. Is it because we protected all these fish species, all these species? Is it because we protected the vultures? Is it because we protected all these different species of sharks? And has that conservation worked? And if so, we should be very proud of that. But we've now created a sustainable resource, made another resource unsustainable, a more popular resource of tuna and steak, I might add. And so now we need to know, how do we sort this out to where we can balance this thing?
What's the life of a shark? How long does a shark live?
Oh gosh, it would have to be in the 40 to 50 years.
So if you're going to rely upon figuring out how to make the population decline naturally, you got a long wait. Is your suggestion that should the study indicate there are too many sharks, then there's going to be some way to reduce the population? Is that the ultimate outcome you're seeking?
I think there's ways to definitely reduce the population in a sustainable way. Absolutely. And so if that be the case, there's markets they're fish. A tuna's a fish, and so absolutely, I think you have to look at the previous markets from previous years before this was an issue, and go from there and see how we can sort it out.
I want to thank the panel for all of your patience with our questions and for sitting in such close quarters. Really wish we'd had more space for you.